Hey, South Georgia, this is Sydney Rainwater back again for a recap of the day's events in court for the Susan Embert retrial.
Day 9 now?
It's, girl, I don't know.
Day 9.
You're the one keeping up with that.
Huh?
Yeah.
Day 9. We're
Yes,
on day 9, y'all.
All right, day 9 of this trial for Susan Embert. Embert is accused of for the murder of her husband, Jake Embert. That happened in 2014, or his death happened in 2014. And our Mackenzie Petrie has been in the courtroom this whole time, 9 days, I guess, covering this. So she's got the latest for us. So again, it's another day, and we still don't have a verdict quite yet. No conclusion.
We thought we were going to get it today, though.
Right.
We did think we were going to get it. We just weren't so lucky.
Yeah. So hopefully soon. But before the jury went and deliberated today, which did happen, we heard from both the state and the defense. So first up was defense attorney Charles Cullen, I believe. So what can you tell us about what they said?
So in the defense attorney's closing arguments, I have to remember that. In the defense attorney's closing arguments, you know, they spoke on how they felt the state left so many unanswered questions. They said, like, they started listing the questions, like the dimensions of the room. They were like a lot of stuff, like, was the room even big enough for the type of shot that they said was made? Because it wasn't, because we don't know that part since it was a suicide trial, that if it was pointed up against the head or if it was shot far away. And they're just trying to see if any of the evidence that was presented even worked. But they also said that they felt the state never proved beyond reasonable doubt that this was a murder. So that is the biggest thing from the defense's closing arguments, that the state never proved that this was a murder. But, you know, when the state came with their rebuttal, they're like, well, you know, no one ever proved that it wasn't a suicide either. So, you know, those are both strong arguments there. And yeah, let's just go right into that sound from the defense.
Sure, go ahead.
The law enforcement.
I have never been a part of a murder case where the state was so unsure of their evidence that they rested their case and got through the first half of their closing argument without ever telling the jury the facts of how the murder is supposed to be committed. We've heard from family members, we've heard from coworkers, we've heard from doctors, we've heard from all these witnesses, and no one has given you what you need to prove murder.
He said yesterday, she literally loved him to death. That wasn't just him saying it.
Yes, I really love him to death. I loved him to death. Yes, I really love him to death. I loved him to death.
It's an injustice. It is injustice to fail to convict a person who is guilty. Her actions have to have consequences. Her actions must have consequences.
So yeah, so like we just heard there, we kind of jumped there. I had a little bit of the defense and the state put together, but there's no worries. But as you all heard, that the defense, he continued to say that the state did not prove how that murder was committed.
Right.
They're just ruling out that it wasn't a suicide. But I mean, those are pretty good arguments, like we've been saying. It's pretty good arguments. And then you heard the state come in and say after about, you know, how Susan's actions must have consequences. That's what he said in his opening statements. That's what he just stated again in his closing arguments. So yeah, very tense day in court.
Definitely. All right, and so we heard from both of those, the state and the defense there with that sound. Okay.
Defense first, then state after.
Right.
Just so we clarify that part.
Gotcha. All right, and so then the jury went in to deliberate today too. So were you expecting that? What was, can you say anything more about?
So within the deliberations, I will say, okay, this is what I found interesting from the first trial. In their deliberations, the family told me that the jury only took 42 minutes to come to that guilty verdict in the first trial back in 2019.
Wow.
42 minutes. But as we can see today, we still don't have a verdict.
It was a long time, yeah.
So it was totally different. It was not as short as those 42 minutes as the first trial. I believe when the jury went in for the deliberations the first time, they went in at around 2:19.
Okay.
They came back. They sent a note to the judge at 3:19, so an hour.
Right.
They sent the judge a note basically saying how they wanted to hear the 911 call replay.
Oh, interesting.
And they're talking about the 911 call that was made on June 28th, 2014, the day that the incident took place. Rather,
Wow.
it was Jake killed himself or
Right.
someone
The death
killed Jake.
occurred.
Yes, the day that the death occurred. 1 hour to, they asked the note, they asked for the, I'm sorry, I got a little scatterbrained there.
Okay.
After 1 hour, they sent a note, they asked for the 911 call to be replayed. After that, they went back, they deliberated for probably 30, 40 minutes. They came back again
Wow.
and asked
Yeah.
for the 911 call to be replayed. So you got to imagine at this point, I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, what are they listening for?
Right.
Like,
What is in that call?
yes, like one note, call. Okay. Second note, I'm like, well, what are they going to ask for this time?
Right.
Call. So I'm like, what's in the call? So now, I'm at the edge of my seat too, trying to figure out what is in that call that they are trying to hear.
Yeah.
So Sydney, the camera, the way the courtroom is set up, I'm sitting on one side. All of Jake Embert's family sit on that side. You have the jury sitting on that side as
Right.
well. And I moved to the opposite side where Susan is sitting because I wanted to have a clear view of the jury to know what was going on.
Okay.
So when I got that clear view, again, I'm on the edge of my seat. This is like a nail biting. Like,
Okay.
it is very, very like anxiety through the roof. So I'm just staring at the jury and I'm trying to figure out what could they be possibly listening for.
Right.
So I see this one juror and they're zoned in. They're paying attention. They're trying to figure out.
Okay.
They're listening and they're listening hard. This is
Yeah.
the second time they've been called in now. But you can see the rest of the jurors, they were kind of just like playing with their pencils, playing
Sure.
with the paper. Like you could tell they had already heard it. They already,
Okay.
I'm not going to say they already had their decision, but they had already, they didn't really feel the need to listen to the 911 call again.
Okay.
So I'm staring and I'm staring and I'm trying to figure out what it is. And there was this one part. There was this one part that was said. And then that one juror that I was speaking about, they were like, okay, I heard it. So
Whatever it was.
From my understanding, I believe that in the jury's deliberations, they're back there probably arguing about that one part.
Whatever
like, well,
that
did
was,
you hear
right.
it? Did you hear it? Did
Sure.
you hear it? Sydney, if I had it and I could replay it, I would. I just can't find it right now. But if I had it and I could replay it, because I heard it myself as well. And you could tell Jake's family heard it.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of seemed as if that was the first time everyone had heard it.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm not going to say everyone, because clearly, like I said, the jury was back there talking about
Right,
it, which
right.
is why they keep coming back saying to play it again. But you can tell once everyone heard it, it was like, everyone's looking around like, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Interesting.
And I even told my team in the courtroom, like, hey, did y'all hear that? Oh my God, that was my first time hearing that. I had never heard that. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
So they asked to replay it again. They didn't leave.
Is that a third time?
No, they didn't leave for
Okay,
another
okay.
note. But they asked for it to be replayed again. And when they asked for it to be replayed again within that same city,
Yep.
I told the team, I said, listen. Like, look at the jury the same way I was. Look at the jury, and when that part plays, they're gonna go like, did you
Right.
hear it? And even my team heard it, and I was
Wow.
like, wow, like that was the first time we had ever heard that.
Right.
Like I had never heard it throughout testimony. I had never heard it throughout the trial, which was also a little.
Yeah.
Confusing
It's interesting
to me.
that this is just coming back
Yeah,
or
it
coming
was
up.
a little confusing to me, but hey, I'm not an attorney or a lawyer. I'm not.
Neither am I.
I'm not trying the case, so
Exactly.
I'm not sure there. But yeah, you can tell from the jurors to the family, Jake's family. You can even tell from Susan. Susan's response, like head down, immediately crying. You can tell she felt like, wow, they may have got me now. And I can't speak for
interesting.
Susan, but
Of
that
course.
was the reaction that I got from her. Crying,
Right.
very emotional, like, oh no. Very frantic.
Huh. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we kind of wrap up? It seems like even though the jury was deliberating for a lot of the day, it was still a big day in the courtroom.
Big day
right?
in the courtroom. Big day in the courtroom. I think jury deliberations, if it was 2:19 when
Hours.
when they went in we left, they probably asked to adjourn around 4:45.
Okay.
So it was more than 2 hours that they were in there
Right.
deliberating. And they came with the third note. So the third note did come.
Okay.
The third note did come, and it was right after they had left from hearing that 911 call. And they asked that, could the court just be adjourned for the day, and could they resume tomorrow? So court is expected to resume at 10:30 tomorrow.
All right.
A little later than usual, but we will have that live stream going for you all. And, you know, as soon as we get that verdict, we're going to have
Absolutely,
it live.
absolutely.
WLB.com, WLB mobile app,
All
everything.
the things.
Yeah.
Everything. Real quick before we go, I did want to talk a little bit about the charges that Susan Embert is facing.
Yes,
So,
full background. We got to give the
Yes,
background. You
of
know, it's
course.
history. This is the third trial.
Right,
Third
right.
trial. So we got to.
it's been going on a while.
We got to give them a little background.
Right. So Susan Embert is facing malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Is that right?
Yes, she
All
is
right.
facing all 4 of those charges, and it is 1 count of each charge. And yeah, those are the same charges that she was indicted for in 2015, and she continues to face now.
Right. All right. So just like Max said, we will have all the latest details tomorrow in court. And
Well, maybe we could give them a little bit more of backstory.
oh, okay,
Third
if you
trial.
want to.
we can. Why not? We can.
Why not?
Third trial, and if you didn't know, Susan Embert is on trial for the murder or in connection to the death
Right.
of her husband, even though we do have murder trial here, so I guess that
Well.
may have been safe. But Susan Embert is facing the malice murder, the felony murder, aggravated
Right.
assault, and possession of firearm during the commission of a crime due to Jake Embert's 2014 death. And in 2015, clearly Susan Embert was indicted. But it's important to note, we can't skip over the fact that on June 28, 2014, she did tell authorities that her husband killed himself.
Okay.
So it did start off, it was ruled a suicide from the
Right.
get-go. June 28th, it was ruled a suicide. And then the family never believed that. Immediately, they say from that day, they never believed that. They hired a private investigator, and in 2015, Susan Embert actually was indicted by a grand jury for murder.
Right.
So as we can see here, we have a full date timeline here. 2019, the case went to trial, and that was the first trial, and
Yep.
she was found guilty within that 42-minute jury deliberation.
Right.
She
Right.
was found guilty. In 2024, the case was dismissed. She was released from prison. And it's important to note that that case was dismissed because a judge dismissed it due to, I believe, improper jury concerns,
Oh,
a
okay.
juror, and improper speedy trial concerns, something of that sort. And then in 2025, that dismissal was reversed, and she was back in court. December, she was retried of 2025. And then after that, you know, that trial resulted in a mistrial. Here we go.
Yep.
2025, that second trial started, and that mistrial motion was made due to coroner Fowler saying antifreeze, which
Right.
is some evidence that was excluded from this trial. In the first trial, they had all of this stuff about how Jake Embert could have possibly been poisoned. He was being
Oh, my
poisoned
goodness.
leading up to his death, or something of that sort. And all that evidence was excluded from this
Right.
trial, though. So they're
Right.
not allowed to touch on that, and they weren't supposed to touch on it in the second trial. So it resulted in a mistrial when, you know, coroner Fowler used the word antifreeze.
Right.
So
So Judge Johnson ruled that a mistrial without prejudice. Is
yes,
that right?
bringing it back, because it's important to note that her attorneys were asking for a mistrial with prejudice,
Right.
meaning she would never be able to be tried for these charges again.
Yep.
Crazy,
so
right?
that simple without prejudice
Made a difference. It brought the trial back, and in January 5th, jury selection, the third jury selection
Right.
began, and witness testimony began on the 7th, and now here we are
Here
in
we are.
deliberations.
Yep. All
We're here.
right.
So 10:30 tomorrow, everybody make sure you're tuned in, because we'll be in the courtroom.
That's right. As always, this is Mackenzie Petrie. I'm Sydney Rainwater, and like Max said, we will have the latest updates for you as soon as we can. Thanks for watching.